So we've got proof from a Kyoto university backed by DNA that 30% of the samurai at a Sengoku period battle, the remains of those were women. Amazing. But what have I also told you? It's total nonsense, and it's been nonsense for years. My name's Anthony Cummins. I'm the author of the Book of Bushido, and I'm here today working with Scott from Sengoku Studies. Now, I'm going to be honest, Scott has done most of the work on this, so we're going to play Scott's video, and I'm going to interrupt and explain a bit more.
You may have seen a variation of this meme somewhere on social media before, or perhaps you have seen these claims in social media or blog posts or in pop culture articles. It has been around for years. While some add some things to it, one claim is always consistent, and that is that DNA confirms the sex of the remains. Before going farther, some background that I will try to keep brief. The remains in question are now interred in the Numazu Kubizuka, or head mound, in Numazu City, Shizuoka Prefecture.
This is one of the first red flags, so there's DNA, which is quite a modern thing, on bones that are quite old, but bones that have already been interred. So when did they detect the DNA?
Allegedly, they were originally found in or near Senbon Matsubara, a pine forest close to Numazu City along the beach by Suruga Bay. Another version is that they were actually found on Senbon Hama, which is the beach itself. The story goes that sometime in the early 1900s, bones from a mass grave were exposed after having been underground for hundreds of years. These were mostly skulls and skull fragments. I have heard a couple of different versions of how they became exposed. One about them being found after a bunch of trees were pushed over in a storm. The other being that they were starting to be washed away on the beach, and that's how they were exposed. The locals collected the skulls, the fragments, and other various bits of bones and interred them in a monument in Numazu City. It has been believed that these remains are connected to the Battle of Omosu. This was a land and sea battle fought in the area in 1580 between the Takeda and the Gohojo. This is what the meme calls the Battle of Senbon Matsubara, although most versions of it misspell it as Senbon Matsubaru. So these are the remains, again mostly skull and skull fragments we are talking about. Let us now look at some of the claims that are common among these posts, beginning with the claim that 35 out of 105 were female.
Scott's going to now tell you that the only real documentation is found by any university is from 1989. So were they interred in 1989? Were they only interred recently? But that's at least the only time they seem to be being looked at by the scientific community.
There was a paper published in 1989 by members of Tokyo University, which is the only scientific study of the bones that I have been able to find. This study was done to look at the physical characteristics to study how medieval skulls differed from modern Japanese skulls. It included 3 mass grave sites, but I am only talking about Senbon Matsubara here. The sex of these individuals was estimated based on physical examination of the temporal bones. Temporal bones can be used to give an idea about sex, especially the mastoid process. However, the accuracy of such determination seems to usually range between 70 and 80%. There was no DNA analysis involved. The conclusion regarding sex was that out of at least 105 individuals, it was likely that 35 of them were female. Even the study itself does not say for sure that they were female, just likely. In terms of bones, the pelvis is the most accurate way to determine the sex of an individual. However, for this study, most of what they had to work with were skulls and skull fragments. Using the pelvis was not an option. This is not to say that the individuals were not female, just that the method used to determine it was not as conclusive as people have been led to believe it was. The other major claim is in regards that DNA testing confirms that those 35 individuals were in fact female. And as stated before, there was no DNA analysis conducted or mentioned in the 1989 study. When I was researching for my content on this topic, I was able to follow back to a statement in Dr. Stephen Turnbull's book, Samurai Women, 1184 to 1877, as to where this claim seems to have originated. Dr. Turnbull did not include a citation in his book, so I was not able to follow up as to where he may have gotten it from originally at that time. I tried to find any original study, journal article, or reputable news source that supports DNA analysis was conducted on the remains, and I came up empty. Other than the statement by Dr. Turnbull, it was all memes, social media posts, blog posts, and pop culture articles, all of which use his statement as the base of their own. Dr. Turnbull's original statement did not name Kyoto University specifically, but it's a common, albeit not always included, part of the claims. It seems that it was added at some point by someone. I cannot tell where the origins of it was, though. However, I emailed Kyoto University's Graduate School of Medicine, and they told me they have no information about the tests being done by them or anyone else at Kyoto University. While not part of the meme, sometimes people will try to give two citations to support the claims. These are the Journal of Archaeological Science, put out by Kyoto University's Forensic Anthropology Department, and the Japanese Journal of Historical Archaeology. I have found no evidence that either of these journals exist as represented. I have also found no evidence that there is a Forensic Anthropology Department at Kyoto University.
So we've got lots of information going around the internet. Women were fighting there. They were all fighting. But it seems that the majority of this, the bones are real and they have been assessed, and they may or may not be some females in there mixed in. We don't know. But it's not full skeletons. They found in they don't even know where they properly found. Nobody's really recorded it. Bits of skeletons, and there's some women mixed in with some men. That's all that they had. But we've jumped to the conclusion that they're female warriors and that the DNA test was done by Kyoto University and it's been confirmed. Now we know the female samurai existed.
So that leaves us with two sources regarding the actual remains. The 1989 study, that is the source for the 35 out of 105 were female part, and Dr. Turnbull as the source of the DNA part. The claim that they were from the Battle of Omosu is possible. The skulls are consistent with the physical characteristics of medieval Japanese skulls, which do differ some from modern Japanese skulls. And some of them showed signs of injuries that could have been inflicted due to battle. Currently, though, outside of local tradition, the evidence cannot place the mass grave any more narrowly than sometime during the medieval period. Again, this is not to say that they were not from 1580, but the evidence is not as clear and the situation is more nuanced than many of the claims make it appear. So that is a real quick breakdown of what I have regarding the claims. And it is at this point that I'm going to turn things back over to Anthony. I would like to thank you all for listening to me and him for having me on his channel again.
Right, okay, I'm now going to fully take over from Scott, so thank you very much. You must subscribe to Scott. He's got a superb channel. You must subscribe. So, we spoke to Dr. Turnbull, and he says he's already refuted that book from years ago. He said, no, it was wrong, and he's done a paper, and he sent us the papers, and he showed us the papers, and he said, yes, I have said this is wrong, like we don't know exactly. So it's actually, even he doesn't know where this false claim has come from. I don't think he started the false claim. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is this has been circulating for a while, but at the moment we can only track it to Turnbull. But he has come forward and said, no, even he's been mistakenly taking it. So what we don't know is where this all started, whose fault it is, but it doesn't really matter. What I'm trying to get across to you lot is the simple fact that, and I want to be clear here, if somebody said to me, there's a paper, and they flashed up this Japanese paper and they said, Kyoto University have done some DNA. Why would you not believe it? Why would you not believe that Kyoto University have done some DNA, there's some grave, and we can say, okay, the remains are there and they've done the DNA test. Yes, perfect academic rigor would be you go and check all these in Japanese and get them all checked, but the odds of it being wrong are astronomical, except it is wrong. So think of it this way, guys. You've got a collection of bones in a hole, in a beach. Nobody quite remembers because they were found maybe in about 1910. We don't know. They just seem to have been housed in possibly Tokyo University, who did the analysis on them in 1989. So there's a collection of skull pieces that have been hanging around for 70 years. And local tradition says they might be from battle. That's got nothing to do with real history, whatever local tradition says. It's irrelevant. They haven't aged them. They haven't dated them in any way. They haven't sexed them. They haven't done anything. So this could simply be, and there's wounds on them. Okay, there are some have wounds on them. Okay, right, this is the bit that is annoying. Women die in battle, right? and in warfare, I should say, in warfare, women still die. It isn't like the samurai are running in and they're going, die, die. Oh, sorry, lady. Sorry, move out the way. Okay, 1 minute. Die. Women get killed equally. Do you know what I mean? So, jumping to the conclusion, even in a mass battle grave, that these were fighting warriors trained, it's a really bad thing. There's the Battle of Towton, I think, in English history, and I remember one of the conclusions is mostly that professional warriors attacked and really peasant-like people defended, and they were getting massacred. And even though they were wearing armour, they didn't really have any sort of training that way. Now, I couldn't tell you exactly if that's still the case because it's like 20-year-old knowledge from me. But the point here we've got is well done to Scott to ping this, because I wouldn't have thought two of it. I'd have been, okay, DNA, female, okay, they're in battle. No, Scott has gone, done all the work, realised it's come from nowhere. Kyoto University themselves are like, no idea what you're talking about, even though they're listed as the people who did their DNA. How crazy is that? So do not believe what you read on the internet. And be careful now, because what people are reading on the internet is starting to get its way into books. Because once upon a time, you had to have a peer-reviewed paper, a proper, decent academic book to really check where everything was from. And now with the internet being it's much more acceptable to use the internet in research, because there's a wonderful amount of research out there. There's still a lot of bad research. So I just want to make you guys aware. So in the perfect, excuse me, I've been dying of a cold for about a week. In the perfect world, these are Sengoku period female warriors who were trained with their male counterparts. Some of them may have known shinobi no jutsu. Some of them were fire experts. They were lancers, and they went out there and did fight. They went to battle, and we have their remains. Or some people were massacred at some point in time with weapons in the medieval period, buried together, and we found those skulls. And there is no conclusion to who they are, what time they are from, and there's been no DNA analysis, okay? As serious historians and serious historical researchers, all of us, let's go with the less adventurous one. Right, guys, it's February, if you can't tell. We're still in the build and everything. I hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe to Scott's channel. He's a superb guy, and he's done loads of research for this. And get yourself a copy of the Book of Bushido. Speak later.